Howdy, y'all. I'm TJ, and TJ means me. So, Star Wars. If you came here for hate against the movie, or writer, or one actress, or actor, or another, you best be moving on because it ain't here. All I've got is passion for stories and adventures and ideas and spaceships. There is no time for negativity. With that, I'd like to get into some honest thoughts about the rise of Skywalker, and naturally, I'll be revealing my thoughts on the rest of the galaxy as well as I do that. First things first, and this is probably the end of my non-spoiler section, I loved it. Abrams and Terrio and everyone else involved have crafted a fast-paced, fun, engaging science fiction fantasy adventure that does its best to please fans, tie up loose ends, end this portion of the saga, and respect the source material. For me, it succeeded, and anywhere it fell short, well, the best fixes would really be to go back and change things in episodes 7 and 8. We can't do that. Thus, as you will hear me say many times, I enjoyed it very much for what it was. After only one viewing and without any sleep, flaming tweets, or angry YouTube videos to alter my initial reactions, I would have to say I rank it first in the sequel trilogy. I'd probably seat it after Return of the Jedi in my order of likingness, and I like the original trilogy in chronological order. Naturally, I agree with most people that Empire is technically the best, but I just can't deny the magic of the very first Star Wars movie. I didn't intend to give a ranking, but since I'm on that, I'll say episode 7 comes next, then 3, 8, 2, and 1. We'll see how that ranking changes with time. Okay, spoilers begin. This section will mostly consist of the things I loved about Rise, as those are the most fresh in mind. The things I loved are the things that make me like it, right? So, as I said, I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the things I didn't like. I thought the opening images were hot. Starting out with Kylo protagging hard and getting straight to our villain intro and setting up stakes was a good call. Palpatine, while neither expected nor entirely needed to finish up this trilogy, was very cool. We all knew he was in it going in, but even so, the shock of seeing that he was a powerful enough Sith to survive the wreck of the Death Star was satisfying to me. You'll hear me say this again later, but I like overpowered characters. He was also so metal. Dark and disfigured and attached to his new fortress by machinery, I loved it. You'll learn about me as we go. I'm a metal guy. After this, Abrams and Terrio, A&T, basically started dropping lots of things that would please the medium core fans like myself, if not some of the hardcore fans as well. A lot of the criticisms you'll hear about Rise will focus on these choices, saying that they just threw everything in, or it's all fan service and that might not be a good thing, or Rise ruined 7 and 8. Take it that way if you will, but for me, this is where things picked up, and A&T used the fast pacing as a device to keep me from worrying about whether plot points had been set up correctly in advance. We can talk about that more a little bit later. Because the thing is, The Last Jedi, however you felt about it, it was not a sequel, not an expansion on The Force Awakens. It was a twist. Several, really, and all left turns. Force Awakens wasn't entirely its own movie either. It had a lot on its plate in reviving the franchise, with a lot of meta choices made that threw up obstacles for both episodes 8 and 9. It's pretty clear that this trilogy was not planned all the way through in advance, and hence we got what we got. But also because of that, we have to judge what we got on an individual basis per movie and deal with the things that could only be fixed by plotting it all the way through. Definitely throw your shade at Disney for this, because that's the only way it's going to be better next time. If Rise had forgone the fun in favor of trying to make everything make perfect sense, we'd have ended up with either a 6-hour movie or something that wasn't fun to watch at all, or both. This brings me to one of my main points about Rise. You will enjoy it if you want to. Just let it be fun. Don't get meta. Just sit back, sip your soda, let it wash over you, because in my opinion, that's what an adventure movie is for. Fun. We can also debate whether that's what Star Wars is meant to be. I think that's what George Lucas means when he says Star Wars is for children. Back to the good stuff. Kylo puts his helmet back on. Yes. Finn and Poe get more screen time together. Yes. Rey trains with Leia. 100% yes. In Star Wars, if a character is a Jedi apprentice, we want to see them training. Simple as that. Some will see this beat as A&T backpedaling because of misogynistic backlash against Rey, but I think you'll see that they didn't dial her down at all. She remains intensely powerful, and as we see at the end, more so than Palpatine. Moving on, the Leia scenes. These are a tough call. It's pretty obvious that she's not entirely grounded in the interactions because Carrie's been composited in from B-roll. That makes it feel a little wonky, but as a way to honor both the character and the actress, I think the frayed edges are perfectly acceptable, and it was sweet of them to keep her in the story when they could have killed her off screen, like Akbar. Heading into Act 2, we really start getting callbacks and attempts at tying up loose ends. Again, the fast pace helped to hack my brain into accepting the solutions to many of the problems the story still needed to address, and while that might not be for everyone, it worked for me. I think some people feel manipulated by devices like this if it works on them and they notice, and if it doesn't work, they feel frustrated, and I totally get that. I just happen to have an extremely strong suspension of disbelief. And I gotta say, lucky me, things are so much more fun this way. One of the best elements saved from TLJ and expanded on here was the Reylo mind connection. Super cool. It was set up swiftly and used to affect important beats for both characters. A&T took the notion of matter passing across the link, remember the water in TLJ, and gave us a setup where Kylo clutches Rey's necklace, both pushing the narrative forward through tension, he now knows where she is, and setting up a payoff to come. Awesome. Lando's entrance was extremely convenient, but I put it with my positive points because it brings up a point I want to make about universes like Star Wars. The Force is allowed to make things convenient for the good guys. It is the hand of fate, pushing people and events toward the most desirable outcome, which is peace. That's what I take it to mean when they're talking about balance and things like that. Peace. If the Force isn't allowed to set up serendipitous encounters like this, you have to ask yourself, is it seeking balance or not? But that's just my read. Throughout this saga, the forces of the dark side and evil have been in control for the most part, tipping the scales away from peace from the center. This is why the bad guys lose so much as our heroes Protag, because they want imbalance. And the Force resists this by nature. It's a modern conceit, and I think a little pessimistic, that we think events and stories can never reflect the notion of providence, and especially divine providence. In a fantasy universe especially, there is more than enough room for miracles, both big and small. On that note, a ragtag fleet of random spaceships coming to help was a big yes for me. Convenient as well, for sure. But again, I am here in part to see lots of spaceships shooting lots of other spaceships. The fun stuff, right? I want the good guys to win in a fun and exciting way. If an unrealistic plot point, keep in mind we're in a universe with space wizards, if that gives me what I want, I'm totally with it. Rey killing Palps with his own lightning equals golden. I've already seen complaints about this, but I liked it. Visually and perhaps otherwise, it bordered on cheesy, but it speaks to her self-actualization in a way I don't want to deny. I just like it. I also liked Rey's yellow saber. Big yeah. So that's my loose collection of high points with a few brief preemptive defenses. What did I not like so much? Well, the Knights of Ren could have been either utilized more or just left out and replaced with an impressive honor guard of elite stormtroopers. You still get to sell the figures. As it was, they existed only to be named and called out and then to die. Our tiny moment of Reylo was an interesting choice. I didn't need that to happen, and it does throw up some alarms for various reasons. But I have to admit the kiss felt right considering the mental connection and chemistry between the characters. I have a feeling that in a culture less averse to kissing faces casually, this might even register as just a thank you moment. But that's just a thought. One thing I would not have done is kill Ben off. It worked in the sense that he'd been drained of most of his force stamina, aka mana, and gave the last bit of it to heal Rey. So it made sense in that regard. But other than that, it only served to make us sad for a few moments. In that way, I actually think it detracted from the denouement a little bit. We could be happier to see everybody hugging and doing their thing at the end if we hadn't just been devastated. Let me wrap up this section with something that's neither good nor bad to me. Rey's power. Abrams and Terrio worked to explain further how Rey and Ben are so strong in the Force using the dyad mechanic, and that's fine. I didn't really need that to accept their abilities, though, because I like overpowered characters. I like Superman and Hulk and Goku and Saitama. I think you can do things with these characters that you just can't do with less powerful characters, and vice versa. There's a place for everything. I don't now, and have never had a problem with Rey being extremely strong in the Force, even without Leia's training. I didn't need her to be a super Jedi, but it doesn't bother me either. In Rise, it gave her what she needed to protag and protag again, and we got some great spectacle out of it, so maybe this should be on my positive list after all. I think that's all I got. As you've probably gathered, as a wrap-up to this portion of the saga, I think Rise succeeded, and as I tweeted to the Twitter void, I thank Abrams and Terrio for just letting the movie be fun. I'm going to miss all the characters, and I'm hopeful that the installments of Star Wars to come will take us further into the galaxy's future and move away from nostalgia and into the unknown. So there it is, my positive Star Wars video, something I've been thinking of doing for some time now, and that the Rise of Skywalker afforded me the impetus to act on. Thanks for watching. I hope you come back for more TJ content in the future. Until then, peace, and may the Force be with you.